car scams are getting out of hand.
The number of online vehicle scams is on the rise.
This is happening all over the country.
Scammers are taking advantage of people shopping online.
Watch out.
Car scammers are the worst kind of people. They're jerks, and we are sick of them scamming people. Last year, car scams rose by 30%.
So today, we're gonna walk through the most common scams that you can avoid when buying a used car so you don't get screwed out of your hard-earned money.
Jared, what's really going on with all of this?
I mean, I've been buying and selling stuff since I was 15. You get screwed enough times doing that, you get a sixth sense for it. I do think with these tips, you'll be a lot better than where I was before I started. So trust your gut. I'm Jared. This is Jimmy. Welcome to Donut.
Hey.
Now, first up, we have some JDM import scams. Jimmy, you know a thing or two about importing some cars from Japan.
I do, yes.
So what's the deal with this?
First off, it's very hard for you to find history on cars that come from another country. So you can find that perfect car in Japan, but you don't know if it's been in an accident. You don't know if the odometer's been rolled back.
Okay, so you go on a foreign auction website. There's no Carfax at all in Japan?
It's not easy for you to find it through that listing, but you can use CarVX, which is the Japanese site, to find that Carfax.
Gotcha. So the guy selling it is burying where you can find a history. What about like your importer?
So yeah, that's another big process, actually getting the paperwork right to get the car from Japan to where you live. You can get an import service guy to go and check out the car for you. There's a ton of companies that do it. You just need to find the ones that you trust the most. Personally, I trust Stacked. They're on Instagram. They've got awesome collection of cars, and they've brought in nothing but clean cars in the United States.
Get someone you trust and then verify the details of the car. VIN details, mileage, you want to make sure you don't have any rust. That's really a thing that is super common. People try to cover up. If you see the underside of a car and it's beautiful sprayed black, that's a good sign that someone is just trying to cover up an unsightly undercarriage of a car.
Yeah, that is a sight all too common with import cars.
Like if I were looking at that, just on the surface, you look at it and be like, oh, that looks really clean. Yeah. It looks super nice. There's no oil, there's no dirt, it's just solid black under there. But typically, in a lot of cases, when you're buying cars from overseas, they're covering something up. The next scam to look out for, Vin swapping. This is an old trick that surprisingly still happens from time to time. Even in our era of digital records, interconnected DMV, BMV systems, services like Carfax, CarVertical, they still get fooled sometimes because people are just dirty, dirty dogs.
So this actually happened to Jerry Seinfeld. He was sued for selling a fake Porsche 356 not too long ago. It's almost certain he didn't know it was fake.
What's the deal
with Vin swapping?
I guess the deal is this: you got a car, something's wrong with it, stolen, salvage title. So you go get you one off of a car in a junkyard that maybe, you know, might still have a salvage thing. Do a little bit of trickery and cut the tab and then weld it back, paint all over it.
Print the labels too to match the door jams. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. But here's what you can do to avoid getting screwed this way. The first and easiest thing is to check multiple VIN locations on the car. So manufacturers, they're gonna put VINs in several spots. The trunk, the firewall, the dash, inside the doors, under the hood sometimes. They're gonna be all over the car. Check those VINs.
It's also good if you use a VIN decoder. That you can find exactly what model the car is and what it was spec'd from the factory. It said it came as this color from the factory, but it's actually a different color. The VIN tells a story.
So a VIN decoder is a great way to do it. Also, one of the things that I do, probably the easiest thing, is spend a little bit of money, a Carfax, CarVertical, something where you can go, put your information in, pay $35 and get a report.
$35 is gonna save you a lot in the long run.
Matt, what is this? So this is my demo car. It's basically a stock vet with a Texas speed engine and a sequential gearbox and a Borla attack system.
Is there any chance that maybe we could drive it a little?
Have at it, boys.
Nolan, let's get in before he changes his mind. For almost 50 years, Borla has been the go-to exhaust for all drivers around the world. The patented technologies give you perfect sound balance and cutting-edge performance with no compromises. It's loud as hell on the track, but quiet and refined at home. Plus, there's no annoying drone. That's huge. Each system is manufactured in Johnson City, Tennessee, using the highest quality stainless steel. With many different tips, finishes, and other customization options, Borla helps tailor an exhaust system that best fits your unique style and sound.
So if you want state-of-the-art performance, reliability, and the best damn sound out of your car, get a Borla exhaust today. To learn more, click the link below.
Let's get on to our next scam, Jimmy. Okay, this next one might not be a scam, might not be illegal, but it's pretty scummy and something we want to talk about and bring awareness to you guys. Shady dealership tactics. Now, dealers are going to do a couple things, but there's three main things to watch out for. First is the classic bait and switch. So you go on their website, great deal on a car, go in store to the dealership. And they're like, oh, actually, sorry, that car's sold.
It's gone.
It's gone, it's not here, but we do have this one. That's really scummy. Next, they will add on unnecessary things that you didn't ask for. Now, I said at the beginning of this, I've never been scammed, but let me tell you, I did get scammed with this one time.
Really? What happened?
I got the low jack system installed and the undercoating and all this stuff I bought in one brand new car in my entire life. It was a Ford F-150. All that price, all it does is just adds unnecessary fees to inflate the cost. So maybe it's a low jack, but because they had to install it, it's now $1,000,
yeah.
Right? So there are plenty of other ways that they can just keep padding the cost and making it go higher. So you got to check all those things. Don't feel pressured. It is their job to sell you this stuff.
Nobody's going to pressure anybody around here, Stan.
It's literally walking into like a professional who does this on the daily.
I know what you're thinking, Stan.
He knows all the tricks in the book.
I think you ought to buy it today, right now. You want to know why? Because
don't feel bad when you tell this person no.
Yeah, you can tell them no.
Tell them no.
Fine.
Don't be so polite.
I was just looking.
And the third thing they'll do, Jimmy, is dealers will make a lot of money off of interest rates if you're financing the car through them.
Whoa.
They have in-house financing, right? You have a good credit score, they run it. So say you qualify for a 5% interest rate. But what the dealer would do is they'll tack on an extra 2% and say, hey, your interest rate's 7%, and they're gonna pocket that extra 2%.
Criminal.
I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that that would be illegal. Now, one of the easiest things you can do to see if a dealership is kind of scammy and does these things, Google their name and see what pops up. Read the reviews.
We found a review for this company, Premium Autos. Premium Autos is a scam. These guys will lie and say what they have to get you to the dealer. If I didn't know about selling vehicles, they would have taken advantage of me as well. Read the reviews. That is...
Yeah, someone's gonna get screwed and they're not gonna be happy with it. And luckily the internet is free. For the most part, if they are consistent with being a shady dealership, a lot of people will voice their displeasure on the internet. So just do a quick Google search, make sure that the dealer you're working with isn't shady. Okay, the next scam we have are fake dealer websites. So scammers will build out websites and list cars at unbelievably low prices to lure in potential buyers. They'll build out a very intricate website, use stolen images, fake reviews. It's gonna appear super legitimate, but it's not. How do you avoid that? Well, the first thing is you can actually plug the website into different sites that'll tell you whether or not it's a legitimate site. So there's things like this for people who sell like wholesale products over in China. It's the same thing that applies here in the States. It'll check the legitimacy of that website. Specifically, the Better Business Bureau will be able to tell you that.
The BBB. Another good way to tell if a dealership is legit or not is to do a reverse Google image search to check if the images are stolen or used elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I've used that a few times.
I've used that a few times too. Deal's too good to be true. Take those images, pop it into Google Image, and then you see like, oh, why is this now in Nebraska on a Facebook Marketplace page? No, it's just some guy scamming all different local markets.
He's just screenshotting. Next up is deposit scam. Scammers ask for a deposit to hold a car that doesn't exist, then disappear with your money. That sucks.
I almost fell for this as a kid once. I wanted a Yamaha Banshee, and the guy was like, all right, I'll hold it for you, because it was a good deal.
Give me like $300.
Yeah, give me a couple $100. And I was like, all right, how do I send you this money? And then, you know, my mom got involved, and she was like, are you sure about this?
How old were you?
I was probably 15.
So we actually found a few examples of people on Craigslist who were screwed by a listing and actually sent money. 1966 Corvette scammer.
Oh, $11,000, Reno, Nevada.
Yeah, this seller is a bastard, liar, and cheat. He repeatedly told me he was only 24 years old. Don't know why. I traveled out from Central California to Reno, all the while texting the guy and trying to reach him on the phone. After I spoke to him over the phone, he flat out ghosted me.
First of all, here's the thing. If you're doing a multi-hour trip to go get a good deal on a car, you better 100% be certain that that guy is not going to screw you over.
Yeah.
Because not only did he potentially screw you over by your deposit if you gave him one, he now just wasted your time. That is a crime in itself. I have done some deals where the person was a little bit shady, and be like, oh, I got a guy, he's already here. I'm like, dude, I'm on my fucking way. I'm an hour into this trip. So this guy got scammed.
Out of his time.
Out of his time. It's a 60s Corvette.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be $11,000. There are good deals out there. Too good to be true, 95% of the time, it is too good to be true. So how do you avoid getting screwed over by these guys? First things first, never pay a deposit without seeing the car in person and verifying the seller's identity. If you must pay a deposit, write out some sort of quick agreement detailing the terms, take a photo of the seller's ID, so that'll provide a record and adds a level of security to the transaction. If I'm being honest, will that ever hold up? Probably
No.
No, it won't. But at least it'll let the guy know that you're doing your due diligence. Yeah. Or just be content with knowing like, hey, this is a risk. If I lose it, no big deal. Okay, next scam, Jimmy. This is a bad one. We're talking about stolen vehicle tracking scams.
This sounds dangerous and illegal.
Scammers will offer to help recover stolen cars for a fee, preying on desperate car owners who are eager to get their car back, kicking you when you're already down. What a bunch of terrible people.
You say your car's been stolen.
Yeah.
You post it on Facebook Marketplace or your Instagram.
Yeah.
And they hit you up and they go, hey, I can help you get your car back. You just got to send me $300.
That's right. So you're in a very vulnerable state. You just had something that you love.
Your Miata's been jacked.
The world is running a million miles a minute in your head, and someone reaches out to you in this very vulnerable state, offering false hope. They end up screwing you over even more.
That would suck.
Some person is like, oh, dude, if you give me $500, I can find it for you. I have a crew of people. We recovered 98% of people's cars back. Don't worry, I'll find it. And you're vulnerable. You're like, okay.
I want the car back.
I want the car back. I'll pay $500, right? Now you're out of car and whatever money you gave them. Yeah.
That's horrible.
How do you avoid getting screwed like this, Jimmy?
Well, avoid paying anyone who offers unsolicited help, especially through social media. Stick to the official channels and trusted sources for the best chance of recovering your car.
This would just be heartbreaking. But the thing is here's what scammers do. They prey on vulnerable people who are a little naive. And I think if you got your car stolen, someone's gonna say, oh, that was a naive individual. Let me see if I can exploit their naivete even further. And so those are messed up people.
Yeah.
If you're that kind of person watching this video, don't do that. Don't be a scumbag. Be a better person. Okay, Jimmy, you're up.
This is undoubtedly the oldest trick in the book, but it still happens. Counterfeit cash.
Oh.
Just do a transaction at a bank where the money can be verified immediately. Learn how to read bills too.
Sure.
You know?
Get one of those pens.
Yeah.
It's hard to counterfeit new bills for sure, especially the one with the little blue stripe.
Yep.
So they got the old Benjamins. Maybe be a little weary, but hold it up to the light, see if there's a watermark in it. There are a bunch of ways that you can look at, make sure your money's right. Also, do this. You count the cash yourself. Don't let people count it for you, because there are guys sleight of hand who can make $1,000 look like $5,000 by just like flipping bills multiple times.
I've given an envelope to a person, they're like, oh, I trust you. I'm like, well, you should still count it.
A lot of people will get screwed over because they want to be polite.
Yeah, this is a business transaction.
Right.
You are doing business things.
This is a business. Anytime it's over a set amount of money in my brain, I'm going, let's just do it at the bank. One, I don't want to be walking around with a bunch of cash. That's another thing too.
That's a liability.
Yeah, you have to be careful, especially if you're doing high dollar amounts, because the person might seem really nice, but say they hire someone to rob you immediately.
Yeah. There's another person involved in this.
Right.
You don't know.
You don't know that. And so there are plenty of ways that you can get screwed over.
Meet at a bank.
Next, Jimmy, is a scam called title floating. And this is when you buy a car off somebody who hasn't owned the car long enough to be on the title. So you sell a car without transferring the title to avoid taxes or hide liens on the car. So the seller skips the title transfer process, which can lead to legal issues for the buyer.
This has happened a few times to some of my friends. A guy finds a Miata or a Lexus. It's a good deal. And he's just like, oh, well, I'm not gonna have the previous owner sign it. I'm gonna keep it for like 2 months, work on it, sell it, but I'm not the seller. And then you go to the DMV or AAA and they're like, hey, what's up with this?
I mean, it could be stolen. You could be avoiding paying old fees. The title could have liens on it. All of that is things that you will now be responsible for if you hold that title. You can get screwed really quick. Now, title floating isn't necessarily nefarious all the time. I've had some friends who buy and sell a lot of cars, and they buy a car for a good deal. They know they're not going to keep it. They don't title it in their name, and then when they sell it, it still has the previous owner's title. Now, that comes with a couple things, but I think the main thing to watch out for is when you buy a car and there's a lien on it or there's fees on it, right? Other things attached to that title. If you were to register it in your name, it would show up. But you don't want that. You don't want all those things.
You don't want the smoke.
You don't want the smoke, so then you just pass it off to the next person.
Make sure you're buying the car from the person who's on the title.
Do your due diligence.
This happened to me, actually. Next up is fake online listings for cars or parts that don't exist, designed to steal your money. I am a victim of this. You know me, I love, dabbling in rare parts, exquisite parts, exotic. I bought a set of Tom's Gundam seats. They're very rare. Toyota racing company from Japan. They made a seat that was this awesome seat in the 80s. It looked like a Gundam fighter pilot like seat.
Yeah.
And this guy in Thailand was selling it. He was like, legit, they're clean, and I was all in it. I was like, I gotta have these for my collection.
Gotta get these.
They look sick.
Yeah.
It was a pair of them, which you never see. You always just see one, which should have already been a red flag. I sent him the money. He was like, okay, I'm gonna send it out next week. He kept stringing me along. He sent me photos of it in a crate, and I was like, I had a buddy in Oregon. He also was interested in these seats.
Oh, so you got your friends involved too. Great.
Yeah. And he got the seat first, and it was just the one seat. It was just one seat, and he was like, it's fake. The seats are fake.
How much you get scammed for?
$1,500. Oh! So I'm out $1,500 and I don't have rare seats in my collection, but
yeah.
You know what? It's all good.
Well, I will say that if you're in this position of buying parts, best thing you can do is, if you can, figure out if this is a reputable seller, if this person has sold stuff to your friends, or if your $1,500 is a lot of money. And I've done this before, where like a guy is selling a bunch of different things. There's one part that might be a little bit cheaper. I'll just buy that one first, see how the process is to work with them. If I get burned by them, at least it's not a lot of money, and then I can come back to the table and be like, hey, I'm actually interested in this. Do you want to work out something like that? Start small, work big. Don't go $1,500 Gundam seat in a guy's living room. It looks legit. He's got carpet in that house.
Well, it was funny because he posted them in this group and other people in the group got real stuff. So I was like, we're all good.
Last but definitely not least is odometer rollback. Rolling back the odometer to show lower mileage and inflate the car's value. Do you remember the movie Matilda with Danny DeVito?
I do remember the movie.
That's the one thing I remember about that. Is I think the car was like, I remember he like super glued a bumper on.
Super glue it. Put it on there.
And then he like jacked the car up and ran it in reverse.
Yeah, with the drill.
You run it backwards, the numbers go down.
To roll back an odometer, it's super easy, especially on older cars. And when you do that, it makes the vehicle appear less used, making it more valuable than it actually is.
I mean, yeah, and you can also just swap out a cluster too. That's how easy it can be.
It can be as easy as jacking the car, putting the car in reverse, running it backwards, or like you're saying, changing the cluster out so that that physical odometer that's in there is now a different unit.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the cluster swap is not meant in a bad light because, for cars like a GTR, there's like a Nismo cluster that you want, or, and you swap that in and you're like, oh, that's adding value, but actually you are indicating a wrong mileage.
Sure.
I think just make sure you're doing your research on what you're buying, look at that Carfax, make sure all the numbers are lining up.
I know, for example, there's a certain Aprilia motorcycle, the internal battery would go bad and it would reset.
Whoa.
Yeah, so if like your battery dies on the motorcycle, it resets back to zero. Like that's a great hack for a guy who's got 20,000 miles on a 1,000cc motorcycle, been ripping it, like he can just be like, oh no, it's actually 400 miles. But the thing is with that particular model, it's a very known thing.
So people are gonna do their research.
So do your research.
How about we check out an example, Jer, of a odometer rollback?
Let's do it.
Scammer, 2003 Land Cruiser 4-wheel drive. I checked out this car and was given a a fake Carfax. It has an odometer rollback, buyer beware.
Oh, that's funny too. I didn't even think about that, but that's another.
You could totally fake the Carfax.
Someone could Photoshop a fake Carfax in 2 seconds. We just found a scam in the middle of this video that I didn't even think about. You buy your own Carfax. Do not let the owner of your future car potentially give you a Carfax. Also, one of the things I do when I go check out a vehicle, I talked about kind of the things like going with your gut. I always ask like, hey, do you mind if I take some pictures of it? 99% of the time, if they're legit, and in my experience, people are like, oh yeah, sure. Go for it. When I sell stuff, people want to take photos of it, I got nothing to hide, go for it. Take as many photos as you want, run the VIN, do whatever you want, I do not care. And some things you can do is inspect the car for signs of odometer tampering, unusual wear and tear that doesn't match the reported mileage. One thing, always check the accelerator pedal. If a car has 30,000 miles, but the pedal is worn out, or the carpet, the bolsters in the seats, there are things that are like little signs that'll let you know that there's some inconsistencies with the quality and the state of the vehicle and what the odometer is telling you.
I went and looked at a Miata once and I saw that the cluster hood was missing. And you could just see the cluster, and I was like, probably a swapped cluster.
Yeah.
Nobody ever got rich being honest.
After everything we've taught you today, just use these points to help you so you don't get scammed in the future. But at the end of the day, just do as much research as you can and do your due diligence. It's only gonna help you the more time you spend figuring out whether or not someone's trying to screw you over.
It's all about research.
Research is knowledge. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and everything else here at Donut. If you guys think we missed any scams, let us know in the comments below. Share it so the whole community can be a little bit wiser to these guys, because no one likes to get scammed. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Give Jimmy a follow. Follow me, follow Donut.
Bye, don't get scammed.
Don't get scammed.